Sunsplash FM, the lively choice. Sunsplash.
Good afternoon and welcome to your subject at Shares on Sunsplash FM from Alaye. I'll bring you beautiful stories and news update. I am at the Bamibadi. First, the top stories. Oyo APC governorship candidate names campaign leaders. HOS admits mistakes as reps uncover irregular approvals. To business news, Nigeria's consumer credit drops 20% to 3.8 trillion naira. To sport news, Flying Eagles seek Hello semi-final tickets. To the news beyond Nigeria, Trump asks new UK Prime Minister to tackle illegal migration. To the news in detail. Tension heightened ahead of the Russian state governorship election on Wednesday as the state police command arrested Secretary to the state government, Teslim Igbalaye, and 5 others. They had Demola Adeleke campaign and the Russian state government, however, accused the security agencies of targeting opposition figures in a political crackdown. The police said the suspects were arrested during a raid on Igbalaye residence in Osogbo, where they claimed to have recovered a sum of 4,810,000, 2 voter cards and voter registrar, and other items suspected to be linked to electoral offences, an allegation the Russian state government and the governor's campaign team rejected. The Russian State Police Command, however, dismissed the allegations, insisting that only 6 suspects were arrested. The command spokesperson Ojela told our correspondent that contrary to the campaign's claims, the suspects were all adults and were apprehended based on credible intelligence. Ondo State. The Ondo State Governor, Mr. Lucky Aiyedatiwa, has called on political stakeholders in country to allow for inclusion of more women in political and elective positions. The governor described women as an important element in nation development, saying his administration had been operating on an all-gender inclusive government. Aiyedatiwa made this call at the launch of the 774 Export project in Akure, the Ondo State capital, on Wednesday. The initiative was said to have been initiated by National Women Leader of the All Progressives Congress to empower women. The governor commended the National Women Leader of the APC for bringing the project 774 Explode initiative to Ondo State, saying the program was more than an intervention project. In her remarks, the National Women Leader of the APC, Dr. Mary Idele, said more women were needed in political and elective positions. Oyo State. The governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress in Oyo State, Senator Sharafuddin Ali, has approved key appointments into his campaign organization to strengthen preparations for the 2027 governorship gubernatorial election. The appointments follow the earlier appointment of Chief Yemi Adelibigbe as Director General of the campaign organization, reflecting the candidate's commitment to an inclusive and result-oriented campaign structure. Ali, who is the senator representing Oyo South Senatorial District in the National Assembly, announced this in a statement issued in Ibadan, the state capital, yesterday. The lawmaker expressed confidence that the appointees would bring their wealth of political experience, leadership capacity, and commitment to achieving victory for the APC in the forthcoming governorship election. Lagos State. A 32-year-old dispatch rider, Emmanuel Jegede, has lost his life after suspected hoodlums allegedly pushed him off his motorcycle while attempting to escort him along the Ikotun-Idimu road in the Alimosho local government area of Lagos State. Our correspondent learned that the incident occurred yesterday around 10 a.m. after the rider completed the delivery and was heading to another destination. On getting to the larger end of the road, two suspected hoodlums who were planning to extort him suddenly pushed him while in motion. The policemen from the Hidimo Police Division were later said to have arrived at the scene and evacuated the cars. As of the time of filing this report, the identity of the deceased has yet to be established. When contacted yesterday, the spokesperson for the Lagos State Police Command, Abimbola Debisi, confirmed the incident. She said investigations were ongoing to determine the circumstances surrounding the rider's death. Enugu State. The Enugu State Police Command says its operatives arrested 14 suspected cultists in 2 intelligence-led operations across the state, recovering 2 firearms, 3 live cartridges, and other incriminating exhibits. The command spokesperson, Daniel Uduwe, disclosed this in a statement yesterday, noting that the operations formed part of the command's sustained offensive against cultism and other violent crimes. According to Uduwe, operatives of the anti-cultism sub-unit of the Violent Crime Response Unit recovered a locally fabricated single-barreled pistol concealed in a bush in Heha Amufo, Isehuzo local government area, following the confession of a suspect, Udodo Peters Shinwoku, also known as Sapi or Biggie. Reacting the Commissioner of Police in the state, Mama Beatrice Giwa, commended the operatives for the successful operations and reaffirmed the command's commitment to combat cultism, armed robbery, and other violent crimes across the states. Kwara State, 9 abducted persons have been rescued, while 3 suspected bandits were killed during a joint security operations in Ekiti local government area of Kwara State. The operation was carried out by Kwara State recruited forest guides, alongside operatives of the Department of State Services, local rangers and vigilantes in the Hobo, Ayugunle, Ejuara, and Osi Asiks of the local government, which borders Ekiti and Kogi State. The Chief Press Secretary to the Chairman of Ekiti's Local Government Council, Dada Sunday, confirmed the development in a statement made available to our correspondents in Ilorin yesterday. The rescue camps amid sustained security operations across Kwara's southern axis, where authorities have intensified bush camping, exercise, and joint patrols to curb kidnapping and banditry in border communities. The development also follows the recent approval by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the establishment of a new Nigerian Army Battalion in Umuano, Irepo-Odun local government area to strengthen military operations against banditry, terrorism, and other violent crimes in the state. Moving on, prominent Yoruba leaders and professionals under the umbrella of the Homo Ojojua Collective, including former Senator and ex-presidential aide Babafemi Ojudo, have called for the immediate convening of an emergency Southwest Security Summit, warning that the escalating wave of kidnappings, violent attacks, and criminal activities across the region poses an existential threat to Yoruba land. The call was contained in an open letter titled Yoruba Land Must Not Be Silent, Insecurity, Civic Responsibility, and the Imperative of Collective Action, signed by the group's convener, Professor Akiyemi Onigbende, former presidential advisor Babafemi Ojudo, human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi, academic staff union of universities leader Dr. Adeolu Oyekan, Dr. Olusokami Olapejo Kazim Olashopo, Samuel Amiloye, and Barrister Kayode Okinla, which was made available to our correspondent today. The cow comes amid persistent security concerns across the southwest and other parts of Nigeria, where kidnapping for ransom, attacks on highways and farming communities and violent crimes have continued despite intensified security operations by federal and state authorities. In recent months, several incidents involving the abduction of travelers, students, and residents have renewed demands for stronger regional collaboration, intelligence sharing, and community-based security measures to complete existing law enforcement efforts. In the meantime, the Nigerian Navy has dismantled an illegal fuel storage and distribution facility and recovered approximately 13,000 liters of products suspected to be illegally refined automotive gas oil during an operation in Bonin local government area of Rivers State. The operation was carried out by personnel of Forward Operation Base Bonin under Operation Teacher Sentinel, according to a statement signed by the Director of Naval Information, Naval Captain Abiodun Folonsho, posted on X today. The Navy South operatives discovered an illegal petroleum products storage and distribution facility containing large capacity storage tanks, reservoir, drums, hoses, and other equipment used in the unlawful handling and distribution of petroleum products. The Navy spokesperson described the operation as another milestone in the service campaign against crude oil theft, illegal oil bulkery, and other forms of economic sabotage in the Niger Delta. The operation is part of the Nigerian Navy's ongoing effort to curb crude oil theft to Nigeria's economy and the security of its oil and gas infrastructure. Moving on, the Department of State Services yesterday arraigned 5 suspected members of the Jama Al-True Nasiru Muslim Fidabi Sudan, popularly known as Ansarul, before the Federal High Court in Abuja over the May 15th abduction of pupils and teachers in Orire local government area of Oyo State and the alleged killing of 2 victims. The defendants are Muhammad, also known as Abu Bara, and Abbas Mukacha. Abubakar Abbas, alias Aiza Adam, and Malam Muhammadu al-Nigeri, Abdulrazak Umar, also known as Abu Khalifa, Abu Khalid, Yunusa Musa alias Abu Yunusa, and Shamsu Adamusani, also known as Abu Itisa. They pleaded not guilty to the 6-count charge, bordering on terrorism, conspiracy, aiding terrorism, and concealment of information. The symbolic presentation was made by Professor Adenike Meke, Professor Chinyodo Babalola, and Professor Aino Adeogun to the rescued teachers, pupils, and widows of those who lost their lives during the attack. Professor Babalola, while addressing the beneficiaries, said the donation conveyed the academic community's empathy and solidarity. In the meantime, former Vice President and presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Atiku Abubakar, has launched a scandal attacking President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, urging him to abandon what he described as political grandstanding and focus instead on addressing Nigeria's worsening economic and security challenges. Reacting to Tinubu's three-state declaration that he was prepared to wrestle his opponent to the finish, Atiku saw the president's remark betrayed the desperation of a leader struggling under the weight of his administration's failures. In a statement issued yesterday by his senior special assistant on public communication, Frank Shahib, the former vice president described Tinubu as a drawn man, attempting to distract Nigerians from what he called an abysmal record in office. According to Atiku, Tinubu's response reflected the aloofness that has come to define his administration and demonstrated a lack of humility expected of a president addressing one of the country's most respected religious institutions. Rather than threatening political opponents, Atiku saw the president should channel its energy towards tackling inflation, food insecurity, unemployment, insecurity, and the country's economic decline. Fresh details emerged yesterday in the House of Representatives investigation into the controversial Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council as the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Mrs. Dede Wazam-Jack, admitted that her office failed to carry out adequate due diligence before granting key approvals to the purported agency. Also, the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation blamed one of its officials for divulging an official letter that allegedly helped sustain the scale. The ongoing probe centers on allegations that Prince Adeyemi Adeniyi, who presented himself as the Director General of the PFIPC, secured official recognition for the body using allegedly fake appointment letters, fabricated legislative documents, and other forged government records, despite the agency having no legal backing. When he pledged to reveal the identity of the individual responsible, Luka mentioned Bello, who sat on a row behind him at hearing room 028. Bello had admitted giving the letter to Adeyemi, but his attempt to explain the circumstances was shut down by Gadi. Moving to business news. Nigerian consumer credits declined for the first time in 6 years, falling by 19.89% to 3.78 trillion naira in 2025 from 4.72 trillion naira a year earlier, as elevated interest rates damped household borrowing, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria. The decline disclosed in the CBN's 2025 annual report and statement of account ended a growth streak that had persisted since December 2019, the Apex Bank linked the contraction of the prevailing interest rate environment, which reshaped borrowing partners across the banking industry. A breakdown of the figures showed that the overall decline was largely driven by a reduction in personal loans despite a strong expansion in retail lending during the year. The shift also changed the structure of consumer lending, which retail credit overtaking in personal loans to account for the largest share of outstanding consumer credit. Overall, the CBN's report showed that while total consumer credit contracted in 2025, the composition of lending shifted in favor of retail borrowing, with long-term lending as gaining a larger share of banks' asset portfolios. To sport news. Nigeria's U20 boys Flying Eagles will today seek an early passage into the semi-finals of this year's WAFU BU 20 Championship ongoing in the Ivory city of Yamoussoukro, when they confront the Spyro Hawks from Togo in the second match of the group phase. A swift 4-2 win over West African rivals Ghana on Monday has established the cup holders at the top of Group B on goal differences, ahead of Burkina Faso Young Stallions, who trust the Spyro Hawks 3-1 on Monday, while the Flying Eagles seek a win to make sure of a place in the last four ahead of Sunday's potential explosive clash with the Stallions. The Spyro Hawks will fight for a result to keep alive their hopes of remaining in the competition after the group phase. Coach Aboud Mahekab knows there is no room for error in today's clash, as the cup holders commit to their objective of earning a place at next year's U20 African Cup of Nations to be hosted by Ghana. Today news beyond Nigeria. United States President Donald Trump has urged British Prime Minister Andy Burnham to tackle illegal migration, warning that the EU is killing the United Kingdom. Speaking to GB News yesterday, Trump said Bonham would eventually have to address immigration despite initially avoiding the subject after taking office. Trump's remarks come as after more than 500 migrants crossed the English Channel into Britain, according to the report. GB News said the arrivals reached British waters after people smugglers launched 11 small boats from several points along the French and Belgian coast, with departures reported from beaches tracing from Belgium to the French report of Dieppe. The comment also comes as Bonham's government continues to face questions over his plans to deal with asylum seekers. According to the report, efforts to strengthen UK-US relations are continuing behind the scenes, while Bonham has mentioned Britain's policy of allowing US forces to use British military bases for what the government described as defensive strikes linked to the conflict involving Iran. Still on news beyond Nigeria, the United States has begun arresting foreign nationals with expired visas at airports across the country, marking an expansion of the President Donald Trump administration's immigration enforcement campaign. According to a report by the New York Times published yesterday, officials from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement have detained travelers at check-in counters, bordering gauge, and arrival terminals in at least 15 airports in recent weeks. The report said those targeted include spouses of U.S. citizens, skilled foreign workers awaiting visa extensions, former exchange visitors, and other migrants with pending immigration applications. The arrest reportedly represents a significant expansion of an existing collaboration between the Transportation Security Administration and ICE. And to wrap up the news for 12 o'clock on Sunsplash FM here at the top stories once again. Your APC governor candidates names campaign leaders. HOS admits mistakes as rep uncover irregular approvals. To business news, Nigerian news